last week, I released a video showcasing the first week recap of me trying to beat Valheim before Enshrouded releases. Now, Enshrouded releases tomorrow, and I have the week 2 recap. As you can see right here, I put about 30 more hours into the game as of right now. So are those 30 hours enough to beat the game? Who knows? Before we move on to the week 2 recap, I do want to mention the fair criticism that was shown in the last video about the console commands. I didn't realize that so many people would have a problem with it. They were very vocal about it, and the dislikes also don't lie in that regards. So I will no longer be trying to do that. They are turned off. I completely disabled it. There's no way for me to do it again, and I will be better. That's the gist of what I'm trying to say here in not as many words. In week 1, I ended with making myself a iron pickaxe because getting the iron scraps with just the antler pickaxe was just getting tedious. So here we have me showcasing the use of the iron pickaxe, and it has so much more durability. I am so happy that I crafted that thing, and it makes the progress go so much faster. After a little bit of exploring, I find another location for the third boss. Luckily, I do already have one that is fairly close by, so I never go here. Now, exploring the sunken crypts is not without its problems. I figured that I had it well thought out, that I was very well prepared, but I just end up dying because that's a great way to start off the video. Retrieving my body also seems to be somewhat of a hassle because several of the enemies followed me and I get poisoned. A wraith is on my ass. All the great stuff. But for some reason, and I think it's because of the corpse run, I do not die. I have poison on me, but I don't seem to be dying. I also don't seem to be losing any stamina, and I didn't realize that was in the game before, but I am happy that it is, because I would have died another time if it wasn't for that corpse run. But sadly, that doesn't make me any smarter because I do end up dying again. This time from poison, because I just think that I can do this without any poison resist. But luckily, this also caused something good because it made me realize I really need that poison resist meat in order to walk around here comfortably in my current armor set. After a lot of attempts, we do make it back home, and I decide to make a better bow, because if there's something that I lack of doing is upgrading my equipment. I upgrade the basic equipment, but like the pickaxe and the bow and arrow, I could have upgraded before, but I just never did. So now is a great time to do so. I also take a look at the cauldron to see what I need, because I've been skipping out on the cauldron, but I do need some of those recipes in order to get more health, more stamina, and also the poison resist that will help me survive the swamp that much better. And so begins the long journey through the meadows to get the different materials needed. Now, I'm just hunting out for necktail, just doing the thing, because Thistle is in the blank forest, but I'll get to that later. For now, I'm just going across the rivers or near the rivers to just hunt some necktail in order to get the recipes or the ingredients needed to make all the recipes that I want to. I make a little bit of a pit stop back home to craft the iron gear, because enough iron has smelted now, and I realized that I also need the materials for the iron helmets. After that, it is onwards to the Black Forest to gather Thistle, because now that is the ingredient that I need in order for the poison meat or the poison resistance to be made. After I get back from my Thistle gathering adventures, I am attacked by 2 trolls. Now, this is not that difficult of a fight, though I get close to dying quite a few times. But I have an upgraded bow now. I have my distance. I keep my distance, and I don't make short work of it because this lasts for quite some minutes. But in the end, I do end up being victorious. After all of that, I craft myself a second smelter just for the sake of it, because I want things to go faster. I want to be able to smelt multiple things at the same time. And I do think about making a second charcoal kiln, but I just don't end up doing that. And then the builder in me just kind of caves. It wants to come out and it wants to mess around for a little bit. So I spend a lot of time, and I'm telling hours. Out of the 30 hours that I played, I'm not kidding if I would have spent like 5 hours just trying to build a new base. So here you have me just flattening the ground. I'm trying to do something because now I can make a stone cutter. And with stone cutter, you can make better or you can make new stone building blocks. And I've never experimented with that. I have always been just a wood kind of guy. I had never even gotten further. I don't think I've even made a stone cutter before in any of the playthroughs that I've done. So I was like, you know what? I want a bigger base. I want to have rooms, different rooms that function and that have their own function, and that I can put all the upgrades in. So I want that. So I built myself a nice plot of land, and I just start building with the stone foundation and just kind of take it from there. Now, I'm also a big fan of automation and making myself self-sufficient. So I craft myself the cultivator, pick a spot next to the new base that I'm building, and decide to plant the seeds that I have. And in this time, it is the carrot seeds that go first because, like I said, I would love to be self-sufficient. I think growing all of the foods and berries and fruits that are out there, I think that's the best thing that you can do. I would love some smelting automation so that charcoal just goes into a smelter and I don't really have to worry about it. But for now, farming is something that I was like, you know what? Let's give that a go. After a bit of exploring, I also have quite a lot of bee queens, and those are attached to the side of my first base. I have 4 of them, which is quite enough, especially since they can go up to 4 honey, which is going to supply me with enough honey for a while to come. After that, one of my friends also takes an interest in joining, so she ends up at the altar, takes the portal through my main base, and she is completely naked, so she doesn't have any equipment. She made a new character for this particular server. I show her where my old stuff is before it despawns. She stays around for 1 session, mainly does some farming, helps me with the base building, and all in all, for the rest, it's all me. After a lot of waiting and base building, my healing potions are finally done. I kind of skipped a little bit, but I do have poison resist potions now, and I also made myself, I think, the medium healing potions that I can make. And I'm like, before I end this very first play session, after the recording, I want to try and take on the 3rd boss to see what I can expect. So after a while, obviously my portal is very far away. After a while, I make it to the altar and I make certain that I am well prepared in order to take on this fight. I pump the potion, make the sacrifice, and then bone mass spawns. Now, this first fight, I am horribly equipped because you can see that I'm using the pole arm. Lo and behold, that he's massively resistant to piercing damage, I think, is what the pole arm does. So this does nothing to him. I did craft the bronze club or the bronze mace in order to try and do some damage, but I still have the very first shield. Like, I didn't upgrade my shield at all because this pole arm has carried me through the game so far. And here I also realize that I am just not prepared for this. I run out of stamina a lot. I'm just trying to deal with these mobs that he spawns, and I've hit him twice, and I don't even think you can see the damage that I've done to this boss. So as obviously as well, this fight ends with me doing very, very little damage to him. And the only damage that you can see as well is just now me hitting him with the mace. Like, the shield does nothing. I'm trying to stamina management here. He just kind of stares at me before absolutely shredding me a new one. Luckily, the poison resist does do its thing, so I'm very happy about that. But this first fight is just no, a big no. Seeing how I absolutely got destroyed, I figured, you know what, let's spend some more time base building. So I built myself a cart, and then I just gather more materials, because having a cart is super convenient. I remember it from previous playthroughs that you could load it up, you can make it go, and you can just have so many more materials than you can carry as a person. So I spend way more. I spend a lot more time doing that. I think out of the 30 hours, maybe I should have said I spend 10 hours actually building a new base, which even in the end is still too small, and I already want to kind of destroy it. After several more hours of building my new base, making certain that I can craft all the new things that there are, making certain that I'm growing more plants, that I'm just doing more, that I'm getting everything out of this experience. After doing all of that, it is finally time to get back to Bone Mass, to the third boss, and see what I can do. I've crafted a better mace, I've crafted the tower shield so that I can block his attacks, and hopefully with that and with the poison resist and the healing potions that I have, I will be able to do something at least. After getting back to the spawn point, or to the altar, Bone Mass is there waiting for me, and so starts the incredible long fight against him. It is unbelievable the time that I spend, but the Iron Mace is doing work. He's weak against it, so I've already done more damage to this boss than I've done in all of my playtime in this game. I try and kite him around, I try and deal with the ads. First, I keep wailing on him, and the tower shield does its work. It's blocking. The poison resist is doing work. I got the healing potions for when things get dicey. And all in all, it takes me so long. It takes me, not kidding, it takes me so incredibly long to beat him. It takes me like 15 or 20 minutes to beat this guy. Not only because he is such a tanky boss, and I'm trying to kite him around with just basic and not upgraded armor, but I also die in between because the smoke cloud, the poison cloud, just takes up so much of my screen, and eventually he does get me down. I'm so close. He has about a third of his life left, but one swipe and it's done. I'm dead. And I have to get back there to get my gear and to do it all over again. Or so I think. I think in my mind that he despawns, or that he goes back and regains all of his health. Luckily for me, that is not the case, because he just kind of sits around the area where you kill him. So I get back to my stuff, I get back in the fight, I get some distance so that I can heal back up again. But even getting back to all my stuff and backing up so that I can heal is not enough, because my Iron Mace is almost out of durability. I try and mess around with the pole arm a little bit, but I don't feel confident whatsoever. So I make a tactical retreat, but with that come a lot of other mobs that do eventually end up killing me me once again. Now, luckily, this time I'm a lot closer to my portal. I take my stuff, repair everything, and then go back in the fight to finish off a bone mass once and for all. Now that I'm healed up, fully repaired, and fully confident that I can finish this fight, I do take down a bone mass once and for all. The third boss that I have never beaten before out of all the times that I've played it is finally defeated by my hands. And with that achievement, I am rewarded with his gear. Now, the first boss gave me the pickaxe, the second boss gave me the keys for the crypts, and now I have a wishbone, which allows me to see or sense things that are hidden underground. I've never once dealt with this item, so everything that happens from this point onwards is a new territory, and I'm all alone. I'm all alone trying to figure things out. As you can see here, I'm putting up his statue or his head, his trophy on the altar, and his Forsaken Power is seemingly one of the better ones, as you get so much resistance against so many different elements that can damage you. After having equipped the Wishing Bone, I have a spot that gets triggered by it. And I am digging away. I'm trying to go. I need to go deeper. There's something here. I want to know what it is. Lo and behold, that it's actually a chest that I'm digging around, and it's just kind of floating in the air. So I think that is the treasure. The signal never goes away, but I think I needed to loot the entire treasure chest in order to in order for the signal to actually faint. Knowing where to go next, which is the mountains, and it's a frosty dangers, I know that I need frost resistance meat. Now, there is a small patch of mountains right near my base, which I'm like, you know what? It doesn't hurt to explore that area. Who knows? It might have something that I need. It might have a few wolves that might roam around that place. It might have a silver ore vein that I can use to get my first silver ore or silver ingots, but sadly, it has nothing. It does give me a taste for what I'm in for, especially the environment of the mountains, but this little patch has nothing. Seeing as this little patch has nothing, I make way to a way bigger patch that I have my mind set to. As you all know from the previous video, I have access to this map so that I can kind of guide myself better to what area I'm looking for, and this area is where I'm heading first, and it gives me the first treat of the enemies. First up, I'm dealing with wolves, which luckily enough, I'm kind of able to beat with my iron mace, but then the drakes start appearing, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't have any arrows on me. I didn't craft any arrows. I am a sitting duck, and I'm really hoping that these drakes come down at some point, but they are purely aerial enemies, and I don't know what to do. I try and kite them around trees to lure them down, but it just doesn't do anything. Eventually, I find some arrows in a chest, and I'm able to kill 2 of the 3 drakes. But after that, I just start exploring, because the area, the attacks that they do, they're all kind of inaccurate. So I can just walk around, and as long as I know when they're attacking, I can dodge it. Luckily, they're not that big of a threat, especially the singular one. And I find a dragon egg, and I'm like, maybe I need that, but that dragon egg is massive and it's heavy. It weighs 200. I'm like, god damn. So I drop some of my stuff, make my way down the mountain, and put this egg in a new chest that I've designated just for stuff coming from the mountain biome. With more exploring around, I go into my first frost cave. Now, this cave doesn't seem too big, but all of a sudden, 2 eyes out of the darkness just glow up and start rising, and the first of the werewolf kind or of the wolf kind start attacking me. I am able to do some work with the iron mace and the iron shield that I've crafted, and they don't drop anything particular. After exploring the frost cave just a little bit more, I make my way to upwards on the mountain, and I find my very first iron ore vein. It's not the biggest, but you gotta take what you can get. So I start mining this bad boy and taking it back to base so that I can process it and learn so many new recipes that I can build with silver ore. Eventually, on top of the mountain, I find another dragon egg, and I'm looking to what I can toss. But eventually, I'm just like, you know what? Let's have gravity do its thing. So I toss the dragon egg out of my inventory and just have it be carried down by gravity, so that I don't have to walk as much with it, because I do definitely want to bring that home, especially since they are used to summon the fourth boss. Having explored this tiny place, I figure that it is time to put this portal somewhere else. There's a bigger snow biome, there's a bigger mountain biome somewhere around here that I want to make my base at. Seeing as I already have 3 portal systems set up, I figure, you know, let's get rid of this one and let's make it happen. Let's make it so that I have a portal going to every singular biome that there is. First, I have to make a pit stop, because once you name a portal, it's really weird. I wish you could connect a portal to multiple things and then choose, but I have to make a pit stop back home to rename the portal, so it's not boss 2 or boss 3, but it's actually named mountain. Having seen the wolf and the drake, I now come across the stone golem as well. I try and do some work against him, but this creature is a beast. It does so much damage. It can take so much damage, obviously, because it's magical rock. So who am I kidding that I can do something against that? So I figure for right now, especially since it has aggro on a drake, I make my safe escape. I continue exploring in the night a little bit more. And then I'm cornered by a drake and one of the Fenris, or the Fenlings, and I'm not too happy about that. I try and fight him, but seeing how little damage he takes from my blows, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm going down the mountain. I'm not dealing with this anymore tonight. Having almost run out of frost resistance potions, I do have enough materials to craft the wolf fur cape, which now keeps me warm, meaning I no longer have to rely on the 10 minutes that the potion gives me. So now I can stay there indefinitely, which does speed up the progress significantly. Just being able to walk there without a care in the world makes everything so much better. Coming across one of the bigger frost caves, I also meet the bats, which are incredibly annoying. But in the end, they only take 1 hit. They don't drop anything, which I'm kind of sad about. I would have loved if they've dropped some blood bags, you know. But I do get my first crystal, and with that also some new recipes that involve the use of these crystals. I explore a little bit more, which give me some new items. I think the Fenris Claw or the Fenrir Claw is one of them, and I just continue exploring. I make a big loop around. I try and explore this place as best I can, but I'm also a little bit thinking, you know what, I'll come back to these, and the ores seem to be outside of the frost caverns, so I'm also thinking that maybe they're not that important as with the Black Forest or the swamp, where the materials that you need are inside of these crypts, are inside of these mini dungeons. Going around and exploring the mountains a little bit more, I finally come across one of the stones that tells me the location where I can find and summon the 4th boss. It's actually not that far, and I'm thinking, you know what? you know what? I'll go for that spot on the map. It's actually not that far. I'm like, I can build a boat. I can cross that little piece of river, and I can make my way to her when I'm eventually ready. Feeling brave and actually having the rhythm down to parry his attacks, I feel ready to take on the stone golem because he is protecting another dragon egg that I want to get. After a short fight, I managed to take him down because, like I said, my parries were on there. He dropped some crystals, he dropped some stones. All in all, I think beating another boss, beating another enemy in this biome is a great victory for myself. Coming back home again, I figure that it's time to do a little bit more work on my base. I actually want to make more like plots, little crop plots that gives it a little bit more order instead of just building everything on the cultivated ground. So that's what I'm doing right here. I'm trying to just separate things nicely so that it looks more neat. It looks like more of it like, oh, this is the garden. This has a function. Knowing that I have a weight limit myself or a carry limit, I'm wondering the question, can I take the wagon through the portal if I'm using it myself? And the answer to that is no. And later on, I also learned that taking the cart or the wagon up the mountain is an incredibly difficult task, and it nearly destroyed it. So sadly, I know that I have to do this all with my own carry limit, especially since I have not found or looked that much for the trader to up the carry or weight limit. Now in the mountain biome, you can also find obsidian, which I didn't find a use for early on, but after a while I'm like, wait, I can make obsidian arrows. And with that also forms a plan to make as many obsidian arrows as I can in order to have enough ammunition to not only fight the drakes in this place, but also to eventually beat the fourth boss. Having crafted a ton of obsidian arrows, I figure now is the time. So I make my way to what I think is the closest place on the map, and I built myself a little workshop and a portal there. This portal allows me to go from the base back to the boss eventually, and for right now I'm like, okay, here is where I'm gonna make myself a boat. That boat is going to help me carry the different help me carry the eggs to the location that I need, or more so across the island. And I also want to make a cart so that I can have the eggs be carried by that eventually. So with the materials for a cart in hand, the portal build, the boat build, I make my way across the small piece of river or ocean, whatever you want to call it. But then I realized, you know what? I kind of left the portal there. So if I die, then I'm going to be stuck on one side with the boat being on the other side. So I am like, you know what, let's make a U-turn, let's get that portal back, because that portal is what is needed if I die on this boss fight. So I'm on the other side with a portal, with a cart, and the 3 dragon eggs that are needed in the cart. Going through the meadows and going through the little piece of black forest is easy enough, but when I come to the mountain, that's where earlier in the video I was like, if that's a hard pass. I didn't realize that running up the mountain with this cart was such a difficult task, especially because I'm trying to go in a straight line to the boss area. It nearly kills the cart, and I'm hoping that it's still alive. Luckily it is, because it goes tumbling, and the dragon eggs inside are also fine. But then I realized I need a different approach to things, and I choose to go there by foot and place the portal closer to the actual altar so that I have an easier time of putting the dragon eggs where they need to go. With the little base being there and the dragon eggs being put in the altar, it is time to fight the 4th boss. Now this 4th boss, I absolutely have no idea. I've read some attacks that she does on the wiki, but once again, nothing can prepare you for the fight. I have a bunch of obsidian obsidian arrows crafted. I think I have like 400 obsidian arrows crafted, and I brought 2 bows with me just in case, because in the second fight against the Elder, my bow broke and I didn't want that to happen again. Now, I'm trying to learn this fight. She does a front breath that seems to damage quite a lot. She does the same aerial attacks like her drakes, but with bigger intensity and more inaccuracy. But then again, if you fire a minigun, I don't think you need to be all that accurate, because something's gonna hit you at some point. And luckily, this tower is actually a great place for me to kite her around, because she doesn't have a direct path towards me, so she kind of just walks around and takes her time, because she is such a big hulking dragon, and I use that spot quite a bit to loop her around things. Now, this fight drags on. I think I should have more powerful arrows, but obsidian arrows are the most powerful arrows that I can craft. I maybe could have tried it with fire arrows, but you know what? I was like, nah, obsidian should be good here, especially with the amount that I have. Enemies keep popping up from time and time again. We have some wolves coming in. We have some skeletons bothering me, which does take up a huge amount of my focus and has caused quite a bunch of near-death experiences. And here you can see me as well. I'm in the little hidey hole. I'm trying to wait out. I'm trying to heal back up, making certain that I can go on and finish up this fight, even though I've done so little damage to it. Eventually, I get into the groove of things, and she is more than halfway damaged. But eventually, it also turns nighttime here in the mountains. And if I've learned anything, then the mountains are very treacherous, and I already had plenty of encounters with wolves. And then in the corner of my eye, I see one of the fenlings or the fair rings spawn, and I'm like, nope, I'm out. I have to go back. So I choose to go back to base, repair my stuff, and sleep so that the night passes and I can go back into the fight when it is daytime. I think her HP regen is a lot faster than Bone Mass's was, because I sleep and she has regained quite a bit of health, which I now have to get back down. I think I have the fight under control. It is daytime, so I'm trying to make my way, do my best, and try and beat her and wither her down even more. As the fight draws very close, I'm eventually cornered by 2 wolves and take an insane amount of damage, which causes me to internally panic. And here, instead of focusing on the wolves, I try and get that last shot in on the 4th boss, but it causes me to die, and sadly, she is still alive. I am panicking. I'm freaking out. I'm like, fuck. She's gonna get so much health back. I need to get back in there. But I've been so used to having frost resistance that the moment my naked ass runs back in there, I'm like, shit. And I pick up so many items because she's been destroying so much around me. So I panic and I end up dying again. Knowing that I probably have enough obsidian arrows for her to regain a little bit of health, I try and go back to it. I regain my composure. I try and wiggle around. I really do my best to make this 3rd attempt be the best attempt. And luckily, 3rd time is the good time. I managed to get my health back. I managed to get some distance. And after the fight, after her regenerating so much more health, like she was 1 hit, and then at some point she was like on a 1/3 of health back again. But eventually I do whittle her down, and I defeat the 4th boss on the 3rd try of me going back in and out. And with that, I get a new item. I get her Forsaken. I get her Sacrificial Head, which allows me to get a new ability. And I also get the crafting materials needed for the Artisan Table, which allows me to build wooden missiles and a bunch of other things. And with that, it also allows me to go into the plains, which is another biome that I've never been to. And here you can see me activating the 4th Forsaken, or sacrificing the fourth Forsaken, and also realizing that she has quite a good ability, because I hate going against the wind. With the fourth boss defeated, I figure that this little base is no longer needed, so I make my way to this plains area, which is on the same island as the fourth boss, and I figured, you know what, I'm gonna make a portal here, because I have a fourth portal system set up for the fourth boss, so why not make that go to the fourth biome? And with that, I find a little spot in the meadows close to the plains area that I want to explore, and I do what I do. I set up a tiny little workbench and a portal that will serve as my forward base in this plains area. And I find the first creature, which is a fooling, which is kind of like a goblin, I imagine, and he drops black scrap metal, which I am just delighted by, because if I don't have to mine it, if I can just beat the shit out of some goblins and get black scrap metal, that's gonna be great. And then I meet the little ooze poodles of the little ooze puddles of this place, which is the growth, and I absolutely hate it. The tar, the slowing effect, the massive amount of damage that it does, it is insane. I think that I'm equipped to deal with these, but I am definitely not. I try and just go away, trying to stamina management out myself out of this place, but I end up dying. First time in the plains dying, and it's so shortly after I even got to this place, so that's just wonderful. After dying and recovering my stuff, I find another great inhabitant of the plains, which are these great furry rhino looking things. They're the Lux. I don't really know how to properly pronounce it, but after a lot of kiting around and after stamina managing, keeping my distance, I defeated and I got some new materials from it. I also noticed that they have the frightened status, and I think the whole frightened thing is just for animals that you can tame. So it's going to be very interesting to see when I'll actually start taming some creatures. Knowing that this big creature took care of the growth that was hanging around this tar pit, I also get some tar, which unlocks a whole new array of building blocks that I can play with and do things with if I get enough tar. Now I take on this last little piece of growth, and then I explore the tar pit itself, later learning that you have to drain the tar pit in order to get materials from it, which I think is very fascinating, that you need to terraform something in order to get materials from it. That is incredibly clever. Haven't done it myself, but I think it's an incredibly clever thing to do with physics in your game. Wanting to make more progression, I also want to make the blast furnace and the stone oven, because I realized that the smelter that I have doesn't actually smelt the black metal scrap. So I figured, you know what, maybe the blast furnace does that, but for that I need a lot of ore, which means that I have to go back to the swamp in order to get more scrap metal. Now luckily, having beaten the third and the fourth boss, I know that going back to the swamp is going to be a piece of cake. The only thing that's stopping me is my carry limits, which I think should just be upgraded through your skill system. Like if your walking speed and everything, or I feel like you should be able to train that as well, that you can carry more stuff. You get stronger with weapons, but maybe that's just me being salty. That's having enough iron on me. I do know that I also need a lot more soldiering cores, because I used them for the portal system that I have set up. I go back into the black forest that is near me and come across a few crypts that I've already been through, and I mark them on the map to make certain that I know where I have been and which crypts are fully explored. Luckily, I managed to find a crypt that has a passage that finds me the exact number of cores that I need. I had 4 cores on me. I needed 9 total, and I find a little nook that has 5 of them, the exact amount that I need, and I cannot be happier that I actually found the exact amount. And with that, the blast furnace and the stone oven come into creation, allowing me to make things that come from the plains, like black metal, and also I think things that I can do with a stone oven. So I'm thinking breads. Maybe I can make a Valheim version of pizza. Since I've already built the stone oven and the blast furnace, I figure that I might as well get the materials needed so that I can craft the windmill and the spinning wheel so that I can hopefully work with all of the items that come from the plains. After making these buildings, I decided to explore the plains a bit more so that I can actually put them to use. Now I find this big hulking ogre orc looking creature, but it's actually a fooling berserker, and I thought if they could have just made it a fooling orc or an orc berserker, I 100% would have believed it. I have some poison arrows on me, so I figure, you know what, let that do the work, and I make short work of him. After taking care of the fooling berserker, I figured that the most dangerous thing of this camp is actually taken care of, but there are so many of them, and they even have sorcerers that shoot fireballs at me and have magic shields. But in the end, even with everything that they throw at me, I manage to kite them around. I manage to conserve my stamina. Oh, and let's also mention that I crafted the black metal shield in order to help with things, because that was one of the few things that I could craft with the black metal that I forged from my earlier endeavors. So that helps a ton with mitigating the damage. But eventually I make short work of the different goblins in this camp, and I get some materials. So I get Faux, and I also get another material that I kind of don't remember the name of. But I figured that I'll deal with those plans when I get back home. There's a lot of black metal scrap around that I put in a little chest as I make my way back to my base to try and plant or do something with the materials that I've gathered. Keeping my eyes closed on the wiki, I read that the plants that you get from the plains cannot grow anywhere else except for the plains. So I decide, you know what, there's this little tiny spot far enough away from my portal, but still in the plains, that I can probably use to grow some of these things. I put them down, but half of my fox growth, or half of my fox inventory just goes bad anyway, because it's, for some reason, it's still on the edge and it cannot grow inside of the plains. Now I end up having to destroy a lot of it, and I do my best in order to craft or to work with the things that I got. With the remaining time that I have, I decide that I want to explore the entirety of the plains that is in this area. I don't find much more. There's only one fooling or goblin settlement that you saw me take out earlier. There are no caverns, no sacred sites. There's like three tar pools that are around, and all in all, I couldn't find much more, so I decided to make the best of it. I decided that, you know, this is it. I've explored everything that the plains, or that this plains, had to offer me, and sadly I don't find anything more. Like I said earlier, I didn't find the location of the 5th boss. I didn't find anything else. I haven't even made the armor that you can get from the plains. So all in all, that is going to wrap things up. Obviously, I did not beat Valheim, or I did not discover all of the content that is in Valheim currently. My main challenge, or the challenge that I issued to myself, was, can I beat all available bosses? I am 2 bosses short. So maybe if I had given myself another week, or maybe another 2 weeks, I would have done better. I would have actually completed this self-appointed challenge. But who knows? The Enshrouded is coming out tomorrow, so I'm very curious to see how that game performs. I'm very curious to see what we can do in that game, and I'll definitely be playing that as well and giving you another 1 week's worth of recap after playing that game. But with that, that's going to do it. I didn't beat the challenge. I acknowledge I didn't use any console cheats, and let's see where things go from here. Thank you so much for watching. And without further ado, here's to Enshrouded. Here's hopefully to more Valheim as well, and maybe even some Pal World in the future. Who knows? There are so many games coming out that I'm very excited for the future, or at least for gaming this year, because last year seemed to be a bit of a drowsy. Anyway, I'm signing off now. Hope you have a good day. Hope you have a good evening, wherever you are. And see you all in the next video. Bye.